The Coach's Corner, part of the Iron Sharpening Iron universe. I'm your host, Davina Lyons, also known as Mama Lyons, and this is where real conversations meet real growth. Here we explore what it means to rise through reflection, resilience, and purpose. One story, one insight, one breakthrough at a time. Whether you're a coach, a leader, or simply on your own personal development journey, this is your space to reflect, identify, stand, and emerge stronger than before. So grab your notebook, take a deep breath, and let's rise together right here in the Coach's Corner. Welcome back to the Coach's Corner, where we have real conversations that help you grow through what you go through. I'm your host, Davina Lyons, also known as Mama Lyons, and today's conversation is going to challenge how we think, especially when it comes to relationships, parenting, and personal accountability. I'm joined by Shakir Muwwakkil, a mental educator who specializes in helping individuals, couples, and families develop healthier thought processes that lead to better life outcomes. What I appreciate about his work is that he doesn't just focus on how people feel, he focuses on how people think. And that shift alone has the power to transform relationships and reshape how we show up every single day. So today, we're diving into relational dynamics, social influences, and what it really means to take accountability for your growth. Let's get into it by welcoming Shakir Muwwakkil. Hello, hello.
Hello there.
How are you?
I'm great. Happy Sunday to you.
Same to you. I have been looking forward to this episode. I think I know that this is in my wheelhouse for sure. And because you are also an educator, I'm excited about chopping it up, right?
Likewise. I
Yes.
was excited to be here and thank you for inviting me on to your platform and to share some information.
Oh, hey. Um, there's some stuff that we're going to get into today that I have been wanting to address for a long time. And just in a brief conversation that you guys had, you and I had prior to this, I know where this is going, and I love it, and I know our listeners are going to love it. We're live streaming all over the place, so this is let's do it, right?
Let's do it.
I am first and foremost, you're the
Okay.
mental educator.
Yes.
Okay, I love that. What does that mean, and how's that different from traditional counseling?
So for me, the representation of mental educator is a discipline, right? Like learning, like any other discipline. We have to be taught, we have to be educated on how to apply math, how we have to apply science, how we have to apply English. And so the mental processes to me is that it's a discipline, right? And so being able to teach and train people on how to think through particular processes is something that I value. And so it's like mental educator was really fitting for the work that I wanted to do. And with that being said, I'm also a counselor. I'm a pre-licensed psychotherapist at this time, doing clinical work. And so that's a part of it. But I want to be able to reach people before they need counseling. I would like to be able to share with our young people and parents and whomever, just to learning how to think through a lot of processes and not just operating off of pure emotion, but being able to sit back and really process the tasks that's in front of you, that whether it's an issue or whatnot. And so that's my work, is just to really to educate people.
Yeah, that's interesting. You said that some thought processes are the foundation of behavior. Like
Yes.
that's the talk about that for a little bit.
Okay. So everything One of the modalities that I work in, that I gravitate towards, is called cognitive behavior therapy,
Mm-hmm.
or also known as CBT. And what that basically says, the way you feel about things and your behavior, it stems from the way you think about things, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so the way you think about a particular situation is how you're going to show up and react to it, right? Someone can say something to you, and you can take it in the wrong, unintentional way, and you may blow up and become emotional about it. But it's all because of the way you thought about it, right? But if you thought about it on the opposite fashion, then you would have showed up differently. Your behavior would have been different. So it's all linked to how we process things.
And I wonder if we stop to think before we think about it, so to speak. You know,
Some do. Go ahead.
no, I was just saying, be more
Yes.
reflective. No,
Yes.
tell me, what do you think about
Well,
that?
I
Does
mean,
it
and,
help?
and that's part of like educating people on how to think through things, right? Some people are just so they take things personal, right? But
Mhm.
a lot of that is because of deep-seated rooted things in that happen in their life, their experiences that they've gone through. Some of it could have been dysfunctional, some could have been traumatic, but all of that is learned behavior, right?
Mhm.
And so we have family members, we have friends, we have coworkers that we know that just automatically just go to the negative, right? Or automatically go to
Mhm.
the positive, but all of
Mhm.
that it stems from something, right? And so
Mhm.
teaching people's like everyone is not out to get you. Everyone is not trying to
Right.
pin you as a bad person. But let's talk through this, right? Let's talk about that. And then a lot of times that's what counseling kicks in, right? Like we have to dig now. Like
Yes.
counseling is just digging. We digging. But as an educator, if I can show you some things of how to sit back, how to digest it, I have this phrase of change your seat, change your perspective, right?
Ooh, I
So if
like
you
that.
put yourself in the person's shoes and think about it from their perspective, you would have a little more insight, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the way people think about things is very reactionary for several reasons. It could be folks not wanting to be accountable, folks can be embarrassed. It's the list can go on and on. But I
Mhm.
feel like a lot of times in our culture in particular, we're not taught how to process things, right?
Right.
Through our upbringing, through cultural influences, through parental influences. We're not taught about how to look at situations and pull them apart and just really figure out what's going on there.
Yeah, I was thinking about a situation that occurred years ago when I was at University of Phoenix. I was taking night classes, working on my um, undergrad, and there were two young ladies in the class. I mean, we were all around the same age, young women
Mm-hmm.
back then. And every time I would raise my hand or ask a question of the professor, I would hear them sort of snickering or commenting, but I never knew what they were saying. And I've always been a very confrontational type personality. I'm just being real. That's who
Okay.
I've been. I'm the
Okay.
type that I don't run from it, I run to it. And so one break, at University of Phoenix, you'd have that nighttime break. So we'd get a 15-minute break or whatever. I walked up to these women. I'll never forget this. I walked up to them and said, "Do you guys have something to say to me?" And they were like looking at me like, "What?" And I said, "Every time I answer a question of the professor, you two make a comment or you giggle or something every
Mm-hmm.
time." And one of them said, "Girl, yes, we're always talking about how smart you are and how
Mm,
we laughed because we wouldn't have been able to have that answer or something like that." You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
We became best friends, the three of us.
Mm,
But it was a moment where I had to grow through.
yes.
And I ended up walking, graduated with both of them. We became, you know how University of Phoenix, you have to do the learning teams. I don't know if you know, you have to work. We would not, like, it was an exclusive thing
Okay.
to join our learning team. That's how close
Nice.
we became.
Nice. Nice.
But I never forgot that. Like, I learned from that to not make assumptions. But you're
Mm-hmm.
absolutely right. It was based on what I had gone through myself as a young woman, and just always hearing negative voices and never positive. And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, you had to have been making fun of me or something.
Mhm.
And that was the way I saw it. But they were so nice about it. And it
Love
was
it.
it really, it was a moment where they were like, girl, you're smart. And we admired that. And we thought, man, we need to make sure she's on our learning team. Because it was like the first or second class, right?
Okay. Okay.
But it changed my trajectory, and
Mhm.
and I gained really, really good friends, So yeah,
And thanks for sharing that. For one, that was a growth moment, right? And it
right.
just shows how we all do it, right?
Hmm.
We're all shaped by experiences, right? And
Hmm.
whether throughout our lives, we all are collecting different experiences, and those
Hmm.
experiences share some information with us, right? And
Right.
sometimes that information could be positive or negative. And so because of your history and the things you've gone through, you automatically thought they were speaking negatively of you, and
Right.
it was totally opposite. And so that goes to my point about like CBT. It's the way we think dictates our behavior, right? You thought
Absolutely.
they were giggling at you and
Yeah.
making fun of you, and then you get there, and so your behavior came out to confront them, but then you turn, it was like, oh man, I'm wrong, right? And so that
Mhm.
shifts happen, right? But then it goes back in counseling, we would dig to figure out where did that come from, right? And how that can't define you, and it seemed like you've already done the work, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
why I'm on this platform, and that's why I love talking to someone like you, because there's still so many people coming along that need this information day after day after day, and will after we're long gone, there'll still be more people that need to teach it and need to learn it.
Yes.
Because it's critical, and especially at a time like this where so much is happening in our society. What you're talking about, road rage and all these other things that happen on the extreme side of
Yes.
people, somebody cut you off on the road, the assumption is they were coming for you.
Right.
No, they're trying to
Right.
get someplace too.
Right. They're running late for work. They're
Right.
trying to drop the kids off. Yes. Yes.
So
And
we
so
have these cognitive distortions, obviously, that we need to
yes.
address. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And a
Very,
lot
very
of
good.
that is being taught, is being shaped, right? And like I said, a lot of people haven't been taught. Like one of the things that I did for me, did as a parent, and it was something that my father did with me. And it became a thing where it's like I never wanted to teach my children, my daughters, how to I don't want to make decisions. Like I kind of wanted to shape them, right? As parents, you got to help them, right? Like kids don't know. So you
Absolutely.
kind of got to guide them, right? But through in that guidance, it has to become a point where you start allowing them to make decisions, right?
Hmm.
And dealing with the consequences, right? And I
Hmm.
remember when I was young, growing up in LA, I had a situation where some car guys tried to carjack
Hmm.
me and my cousin, and it ended up turning into this big brawl. Right, we fought them off, and we left with the car. Right, but I had lost my necklace, lost a class ring, and I remember I was that was like the moment. Like he had been like leading me up to this moment, like allowing me to make decisions and showing me how to process things. Look at if you go to the right or to the left, these things are going to happen. But I remember that point because I was like about 16, and the next day I figured out I knew where the guys live. And I was telling him about it, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm about to go over and get my ring back, my necklace, and all these things." And he was like, "Okay, all right." He said, "But let me ask you a question." He said, "Are you willing to suffer the consequences of your actions over some material items?" Right?
Mm.
He never told me what to do. He was like, "Okay, so if you go over there, right, you may get your things back. But the other side, you go over there, he's going to shoot you, or you're going to have to shoot him. And so, are you willing to suffer those consequences over some material items?" And it
Mm.
made sense. But he never told me not to do it. But what
Right.
he did, he helped coach me. He educated me on
Right.
how to sit in this, look
Right.
at it, extract the ego from it,
Right.
right? And just look at and sit in it and think about it, right? And it just
Hmm.
made so much sense. Of course, I just end up leaving it alone. But
Right.
he started doing that with me when I was about 12, right?
Right.
And so I seen the value in that at that moment. And then when I was like 21, I had some friends that was about to do something stupid.
Hmm.
And I was like, man, you guys are not thinking this out. If you do this and this and that. And I had to show them these processes that I was educated on by my father, right? And I
Nice.
realized they never had that because they grew up in households where it was
Right.
more so like do as I say, right?
Right.
Question because I said so, right?
Mhm.
But that doesn't help the person learn any lessons or why did you say so? What do you
Mm,
see that I don't see? Right. And so
mhm.
those are like parental um, things that exist in parental rearing that parents don't really don't understand that this was
Right.
a teachable moment, right? And
Absolutely.
yes, yes, yes,
No, that's good stuff. That is, I'm sitting here thinking about that, replaying that in my mind, how powerful that lesson was. And what you keep saying, which is so true, he never said, don't do it.
no,
Because
never.
when you tell someone not to do something, I don't know what it is psychologically that makes them want to
Mhm.
do it.
Yes,
And that's, parents have to get that part.
yes,
Um, it's better to ask the right questions and get them to come to the conclusion,
hmm,
as opposed to directing. It's guiding, and that's
yes.
really important. And I
It,
can see if teachers are listening, same thing in the classroom.
mhm,
Give options, but give
mhm.
positive options and then see what happens, because there, it is a teachable moment. It is allowing, it allows the young person to have some dignity in it, and they're growing at the same time.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's
And
powerful.
yeah, thank you. And we a
Hmm.
lot of times what I see in working with parents, in our culture, just looking at parents that I'm,
Absolutely.
I'm in direct contact with and through educating or counseling, but also looking at our culture as a whole, we have
Hmm.
come to a place now where we've course corrected so much now that we just want to focus on loving the kid, right? Because a lot of
Right.
parents, our parents and some of ourselves have gone through like whether it was just like physical abuse, verbal abuse. So we don't want to do that with our kids, but we've
Right.
steered so far to in one direction that we're off course and we forget that we're here as parents. You're here to guide this young person and you're
Right.
trying to employ them with a set of skills so they can function as a functioning adult, right?
Right.
We're so caught up on just loving the kid and we just love, but the loving is not giving them the tools that's necessary. There was a statistic and it was saying like 70% of kids, of young adults under the age of 23, feel like they're not equipped to be an adult,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And that's a lot of times the behavior the parents showed up for them too much, and trying to remove obstacles out of the way. I don't believe in removing obstacles. I believe
Right.
in teaching you how to navigate through the obstacles.
Absolutely.
Because that's the information, that's where the value is. It's in learning how to maneuver the obstacles, right?
Absolutely.
For me as a parent, this is probably my favorite part of parenting. And it's not so parental, it's just about guidance, right? Like I always tell my daughters, like, yo, I'm your mentor, I'm your guide. Like I have a certain amount of information, I just want to give it to you, right? And I'm not here to like remove obstacles. I want to teach you how to maneuver through those obstacles, right? And I
Yes.
think if we as parents thought from that perspective, then our young people will feel healthier, they'll feel more self-confident,
Right.
and they have the skill set to be able to challenge and go through this world.
Right.
Where a lot of people, a lot of young people are feeling inadequate about their position and being able to leave home. And this is because home has been too comfortable and there hasn't been any tools given. Like, as a teacher, you
Right.
can see how kids appreciate structure, discipline. If you grow up in a household without that, you're not going to be prepared. But as an
No.
educator, you have to give them these guidelines to be able to educate them to get to the next level.
Right. And sometimes they are growing up in a home like that, and then they come to school, and that's why I believe a lot of students become close to their teachers, is because they recognize the care and the concern that their teachers put out, and they want that, they crave that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But it's and this is no shade on parents who haven't figured it out yet,
Yes.
because understandably it works both ways. So if you didn't have that as an example as a child, then you might not know how. But this is why education is important.
Mm-hmm.
Research, listen, YouTube University is powerful, right?
Yes.
There's
Yes.
so much information out there that you don't have to go it alone.
Mm-hmm.
You certainly, shows like this, listening to what you're saying is helpful. And if you can tweak one thing, it is so invaluable. We talk about, uh, and you gave a good example with your father.
Mm-hmm.
You just really did a great job of illustrating how a parent can do something, and then that shifts the whole family dynamic. It's a legacy. Your daughters will be different parents because of what was done,
Mm-hmm.
right, for
Yes.
you. And that is the other part I think people don't appreciate as much as they should, is that your personal growth, your accountability, all those things matter because it's not just for you, it's
Yes.
for your legacy, right?
Yes. Yes.
And speaking of, you have a saying, growth is your receipt for being accountable. So what does that look like in real life?
Yes. So once you have grown to a place where you realize that you've done some self-reflection, you've done some like introspective work, and now you have a positive shift, right? And that shift is growth. But the only way you were able to reach that growth is that you had to take some accountability, right? You
Mhm.
had to do some deep digging. You had to do some soul searching. You had to go within to figure out, like, okay, why did I respond this way? Or why did I do this, right? And then from there, like, okay, I won't do that again. That's growth.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
you can only receive growth if you did the work to be accountable. Without accountability, you're
Makes
in the
sense.
same cycle. You're never
It makes
grow.
sense.
This is like
It
we
makes
see people just caught up in the same cycle over and over again. And you like, man, girl, like, how are you keep finding yourself in the same situation? You're not growing.
repeating patterns.
You're repeating
Yeah.
patterns, right?
And not being accountable for changing them. That
Yes.
is so true. Like, even in that moment when I misunderstood my classmates, I could have I could have done, walked away and say, yeah, whatever. They lying. I know they lying, whatever. But instead, I embraced what they said. I believed them, and it changed everything for me in terms of I gained two of the best friends. But it's all about making the decision and
Yes.
to be accountable
Mm-hmm.
for that decision, and know that, yeah, okay, I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
um
Just what you said there is
mhm,
what a lot of people can't say.
right.
I was wrong, right?
Mhm,
Because they mean admitting that they were wrong, mean that they were less than, they're going to be viewed negatively.
mhm.
But that's the growth, right? It's like, okay, like self-reflection is not a bad thing,
No.
right? Like, don't that's life is here to teach you experiences for it to grow. If you can't say I was wrong, then you would never grow, and things would never shape and take you to places that you never thought about before that you will be able to obtain, right? But
Right.
it's just the positivity, because that that journey happens because people around you want to be around people that can grow, that's positive, right? If you always the Debbie Downer, you always thinking negative, you always starting something, people are going to disassociate with you, right? And that's the
Absolutely.
only place to be, right? But
Mhm.
we're all on this growth. It's like, man, I made a mistake, and it was like, okay, well, I grew from it. Won't do it again. But you have to have
Right.
mistakes to know what not to do. It's like touching
Right.
fire. You know,
Right.
someone said that's 400 degrees, and you don't know what it is, but when you touch it, you burn. It's like, okay, I'm not gonna do that again, right?
Right.
That was a learned, a teachable moment, right?
Right.
That's growth, right? You've grown in shape. Like, I'm not gonna do that again, and it's
Mhm.
okay to do it, right? But then that comes in the ego and past trauma and all these things where we can never be wrong. It's like, man, I heard someone say, so you've been in 3,200 arguments and you've never been wrong. Never, not one, right?
That's
Out of
good.
3,200 arguments, you never been wrong, right?
Right.
um
Right.
and come on, right? But
Right.
it's part of
Right.
the process. And so as a mental educator, I want to let people know it's okay to sit back and
Mhm.
be like, man, I was wrong, but that's where the growth comes from, right? It's not about being judging, even though I judge, right? And that's a
Yeah.
whole nother conversation. We talk about that.
Right.
We'll talk about that later, what I mean by that statement. um because we have to grow,
Right.
right? Like, we have to grow. I want to kind of say this before we move on. Like, we were talking about parents. I
Mhm.
just want to share my story, and because I want to be a resource for parents, right?
Yes.
It's not like we're talking negatively about parents, but these are real life situations. But I want parents to know that you can speak to someone, right? For me, I was an educator, and as I shared, is you have a kid in your classroom and can't figure out what is going on with this kid, whether it's discipline, whether it's disrespect, all these different things. And then you set up the parent teacher conference and the parents walk in, you be like, everyone can go home now, right? Because you
Got it.
see there is coming from the parents. The kids are
Right.
just the fruit. When they walk in your classroom, you have a whole bunch of little fruits, right? But there's
Mhm.
trees that produce this fruit. And a lot of the behavior they're bringing into the classroom
Yeah.
is direct reflection of the behavior they're modeling at home. And so for me, I realized that. And then after speaking to a couple of parents, I realized was like, man, parents don't know there's resources, right?
Right.
Parenting is a scary job. We all, every parent, it was a job on the job training, right?
Right.
But I just want parents to know there's resources out there and it's okay. And I understand there's a stigma culturally for parents, and it's as if, you have a kid. What do you mean you don't know how to be a mother? You don't know how to be a father, right? And we have this idea just because we can produce an offspring, a spring, automatically mean we know how to be a parent, and that
Right.
is not true,
No.
right?
Mhm.
And so there's some things that you have to learn along the way. As you know, your kids are going to teach you more about yourself than you're probably going to teach them,
That's true.
right? And so, but you have to be
Mhm.
open to that process and say, hey, man, I need some help. I don't understand how to do this.
Right.
Um, and those are the moments that I find the satisfaction in working with parents who are like, oh, and a lot of things that we see in children are it was they're just modeling their parents, right? Um,
Mhm.
I have parents that bring kids, and it's like, no, the kid's not having issues. It's the parenting. It's what's going on at home, right?
Mhm.
And we have to set boundaries, right? It's okay to say no. There's a lot of conversation with folks don't want it. No, no, you can't get everything that you want in life, right? You can't. This is part of parenting. It's part of safety. You have to teach your children boundaries, and you have to teach them consequences, and you have to figure out what that is, what that looks like in your household. But those three things have to be part of your parental makeup.
And and when it isn't, it bleeds into the classroom. It's so funny. I have the two big issues for teachers today is cell phones
Mm,
and going to the bathroom, right?
mm,
Those two things, you can tell a kid comes from a household with structure versus not.
mm,
If you tell a student, first of all, turn in your cell phone because it's a state law,
yes.
it's a nationwide law. They whatever. I have so many parents that will say, I want my kid to keep their phone on them. I
Mhm,
don't care about your law. I don't care about any of that.
mhm,
I told my kid, don't turn your phone over. Okay. There's that one. Then there's you can't, a lot of people tell me, you can't keep me from going to the bathroom. My mama said, you can't keep me from I can go to the bathroom. And I say, you know what? I can't walk out of a room and leave 35, 40 kids for safety
mhm,
reasons
mhm,
alone.
mhm,
If I went to the restroom every single time I thought about it like they do, there would be no one to teach because
mm,
I'd be in the restroom.
mhm.
Because maybe some days I'd want to go in there and stay because it's tough.
Yes.
And that's when they get an assignment they don't want to do. It's called work avoidance, as you
Mm,
know, as
mhm,
an educator, right?
mhm.
So guess what? Miss, can I go to the bathroom? Miss, can I go to the bathroom? That goes on all day. And what's interesting is that one will ask, and then it's like whack-a-mole. Now everybody's asking,
Okay, go.
and you're not teaching.
Yep. Yep.
So I wish parents understood that sometimes, and your child's tender bladder is not going to burst, but
Yes.
sometimes
Mhm.
I'm not saying you can't go to the bathroom. I'm saying not right now.
But understand the manipulation that's occurring,
Right.
right? And they're just trying to manipulate the situation to get out avoiding doing the work, right? As
Right.
if we can't see it, right?
Right.
But see, that works with the parents.
Right.
And so they think that, okay, how can you see this, right? When my parents allow me to do this, right? I can manipulate them through by throwing a tantrum,
Right.
right? By arguing, like creating bad behavior, right? Maladaptive behaviors start showing up. And it's
Right.
just because the parent keeps feeding into it, right? All
Correct.
right, well, just go ahead. It's a cell phone thing, right? It just bothers me where everyone wants to sue and social media companies, and I get some of that about the algorithm. I get that,
Yes.
but you buy the kid the phone,
Right.
right? But you don't want to be held accountable, right? And this is what I mean. So we have to hold.
Mhm.
This is another whole discussion about holding parents accountable because it serves the whole community. It serves the whole society. Like it was everyone was blown away when like the school shooting didn't happen and they prosecuted the parents, right? And it was like, oh wow, they actually gonna hold someone that's
Accountable.
accountable other than his kid, right?
Yeah.
And it's like that's what we have to do, right? And it's not to be punishing people, but it's
Right.
like, no, you have to stand up and handle your role and your responsibilities.
I agree. I agree. I agree. So, with what you're doing, talk to me about relationships.
Ooh.
Unhealthy thought patterns obviously must show up in relationships, and I'm sure you deal with that as well. And sometimes people don't realize it. So, if we're making these kind of errors with in judgment and when we're communicating in general, think about when you're always communicating with one person and
Mhm.
you're in close proximity. How do you work with that?
I do. I do. I work with individuals, working with couples. It's very interesting because now you have two different dynamics in the same room,
Okay.
right? And people are speaking a lot of times two different languages, um, for various reasons. Like, we talk about like in relationships about marriage, right? And marriage is a thing where we use this one word, but it means so many different things, right? For instance, you can have one partner comes from a two-parent household, and the mother and father had particular roles and showed up this particular way. And you can have the other partner, parents, two parents household, and the roles could be totally different. So they both are speaking marriage, but when they come together, that one word looks totally different. So now they get into this marriage, this relationship,
Wow.
and they have two different it has two different identities, and so then that brings in a lot of issues.
Mm.
And so now we have to separate that, and okay, let's dive into your story and what does it look like to you, um and vice versa. And so that's just on the marital front. But when you talk about
Mhm.
like relationships, I've learned that there's three things in the acronyms of ACE that's going to show up. It's going to be A for accountability or lack thereof, or C, control, or and ego. And control shows up in so many different ways, right? So it's accountability, control, and ego. And so those things really play out in relationships. In terms of accountability, people deflect, right? Well,
Mm.
I wouldn't have did this if you did that, right? But you're not sitting in it, right?
Okay.
It's all deflecting. Everyone is deflecting, but we're not dealing with the issue. I tell people, when I work with people, when you're having any type of communication, whether it's platonic a relationship or romantic relationship, you have to learn how to be effective uh, communicate effectively. And part of that is first is leading with empathy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to lead with empathy, right? And when you lead with empathy, it allows you to step out of yourself and let your partner know that I'm trying to hear you, right? I'm not listening to come back with a rebuttal. I'm listening because I'm trying to receive you in what you're saying. And when you do that, like that's part of effective communication, right? We want, and then because if you just start barking at someone, first thing they do is they become defensive. They're not going to hear you. But when you say, "Hey, I have something I want to speak to you about," I seen this or whatnot, and just want to know how we can get past this. This is an issue for me, and this is why it's an issue for me, and let's talk about it, right? By
Mm.
lowering your voice, I've learned that it allows people to bring their guards down, right? But a lot of times we're in relationships, someone wants to be right, and that's where it just takes off, right? And you want the other person to be wrong, you want to be
Absolutely.
right, and a lot of times that is to deflect accountability as well. Instead of saying, you know what, I was wrong. I shouldn't have did that, or I didn't think about it from that standpoint. And so I'm gonna work on that. Problem solved. We're gone. Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
Wow. That is so powerful. So that's a simple mindset shift.
Yes.
That is a mindset shift for sure.
And that's a
Wow.
cultural. That's a cultural. If we look at the external, right, and a lot of the influences that we see that pops up, everyone is ready to pop off.
Oh,
Everyone is
yeah.
ready to pop off, and that is to safeguard your ego, right? So if I get you before you get me, right, that's your ego. Like I have to get them before they, like, everyone is not out to get you, right? When you're, sometimes it's the environment, it's existential. The environment, people were brought up in certain
Right.
communities and neighborhoods where they always had to be hard, right? Or
Right.
portray themselves as being hard, right?
Right.
I don't think there's anyone that's really hard. I think
No.
people, there's a portrayal that people try to project to safeguard themselves, and and so everything is about confrontation. If you grew up, if this is the behaviors you seen your parents bestow,
Right.
you're just trying to model the same behavior, where you got to jump bad, and all those are protective factors that people utilize, but it shows up in a negative way, and
Absolutely.
yeah, and so people can't grow.
Right. Right. Wow. So much good stuff you're sharing. And I'm thinking about how the way you phrased everything that you shared, that was really powerful. And is that something that you help with in your service, and when you're working with clients, do you help with ways in which to, maybe taking situations that have existed between
Mhm,
partners and
mhm.
saying, okay, after you hear how they handle it, do you kind of reframe it for them?
I do.
Like, as a
Reframing
teacher, like
is
we give sentence stems, well,
yes,
you can say it
yes.
this way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, reframing is very is a therapeutic skill
Okay.
that we employ a lot of times, right?
Okay. Nice.
It's just about reframing it, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes it's allowing people to sit still in it.
Mhm.
It's so many different little things like body movement and how people can't sit still. And as when I'm in the counseling space, I'm looking at body behaviors and how people are
Yeah.
moving. They can't get
Mhm.
comfortable, and you could tell there's something going on. So that's what
Mhm.
I want to do. Like when I start sessions, one of the things I share to bring a connection with the client is that they're the pilot, right? And this analogy I use, they're the pilot and they're going to guide us, right? They're going to take us
Mhm.
everywhere we need to go. I'm the
Mhm.
co-pilot, right? But every now and then, as your co-pilot, I may say, "Hey, let's explore this avenue. Let's
Mhm.
explore this street." And as we go down there, we're pulling things out, right?
Mhm.
And so,
Mhm.
where did this thing of confrontation? Why does it make you feel this way? Does it make you
Mhm.
feel emboldened? Does it make you feel loved? Does it make you feel safe? Let's talk about
Mhm.
that, right? When was the first
Mhm.
time you felt that, right? When was the first time you felt unsafe? And now we're digging. Now we dig. And so once we figure out like that red spot, right, the root of it all, now we can
Right.
come back and show how this has been something that's been a hindrance in your life for so long, and in different relationships. So
Mhm.
how can we, if we had a do-over, right?
Mhm.
What did we learn, and what would that look like, right? Now that we have the information that this is how I show up, and it hasn't been serving me, you know.
That's interesting because I was just thinking about the number of times I have heard people over the years say, "Well, I don't need therapy. I don't. What can these people say to me? Don't nobody. I don't need to. I don't talking to people.
Yeah.
Why telling my business? All the things we hear,
Mhm,
especially within our culture. Like,
mhm.
it amazes me because I'm sitting here not as a client, but as
Yeah.
someone interviewing you, and I have learned quite a bit in just a
Mhm.
short amount of time.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, man, maybe it makes me want to. I need to go. I have done therapy, but I'm like,
Yes.
I feel like I want to go back now and get that.
Right. Like
It's important.
it is. It's very important because there's things inside you. I mean, I have a therapist, right? Like every therapist has a therapist or should
Right.
have one, right? And most
Right.
of them, most therapists have a therapist to help process things, right? Because
Hmm.
a lot of times you can't see things from a 360 degrees, right? Even
Right.
as as therapists, we're trained to be able to separate the emotions from a lot of the things that's going around you, so you can get a clearer perspective, right?
Hmm.
But sometimes you can't see it all, right? And there's things show up, and it represents things that you never thought about. Like I'm telling you, like recently, I'm still having like, oh, that,
Hmm.
that because of that, right?
Hmm.
And this and I love it. I love those moments, right? I don't run from them. I welcome more moments like that, right?
Yeah.
That's the growth, right? If
Yeah.
I want to grow, like I need to learn those things, be accountable, and be able to move on and to be a better version of myself.
Yeah.
When you look at your life as the goal, like at the end of your life, you want it to be the best version of yourself. Then that
Mm-hmm.
means you have to learn some things, right? You're trying to grow. You know, and bringing that to back to the relationship conversation. A lot of times, oh man, I could speak so much on this topic about relationships, about how we have relationships, how we show up for
Mm-hmm.
relationships. Like one of the things that I'm continually doing like research on and you know and starting to put notes together is about like in our culture, we don't even teach young people how to be in relationships, right? When you look at the statistics, it's like just marriage. We're not even talking about just partnerships, but marriage is like 50% of marriages, relationships or marriages are ending in divorce, right? And it doesn't mean, and I'm here to say it's not a negative thing in terms of divorce itself, because sometimes people just outgrow, they shouldn't be together.
Absolutely.
But all of those things are happening. But as a culture, we put so much emphasis on marriage. So, and just using that statistic, why are 50% of people like getting out of this thing, right? And there's so many different reasons, but I always like to go back to the beginning. Why did you do it in the first place, right? And so now, why do we want to get married? A lot of times, it's just a cultural, religious, or social construct to say, "Hey, this is the way life's supposed to be." And I tell
Mm-hmm.
people, life's supposed to be only the way that you define it, how you set it up for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and the way you want to define it. You know, you can't let culture and traditions and all those things shape you and put you in a position that you don't want to be in, because you'll never be
Absolutely.
happy and you can't show up for yourself, and so you surely can't show up for a partner,
Right.
right?
Right.
You can't. And so as a culture, we don't have conversations with our young people, right? And it's like, hey, this is one day you're going to be on your own, right? And one day you're going to be a partner to someone, and one day you may be a parent. So these are things you have to learn how to do. These are skills that you need to learn how to possess. So when you step out and you're in that role, you already have those things in your tool bag,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
But we don't do that. We just glorify and Disney-fy, I call it Disney-fy, where we just get out and we looking for the Prince Charming or the Cinderella, not Cinderella, but you know, the fairy
Yeah.
tale story. And it's like, no, that's not how it happens. And then
Yeah.
we champion like young people go out and find someone and they're supposed to choose their life partner. You know, this life partner concept, that's a whole nother topic as well. But
Right.
set them up to go and do that,
Yeah.
and they don't know what they're looking for,
They
right?
don't.
I mean, most of the time, you know, a young lady, oh, he has good hair and pretty eyes, and then the guy's looking at her, she got a butt and this and that, and that's what we're going off. And this is my life partner.
That's the
But
truth.
you haven't looked at, are they
Mm-hmm.
good with finances? Are they good with family? Or do they have past trauma? Have they been abused? Have they been verbally abused?
Mm-hmm.
Have they been sexually abused? Um,
Mm-hmm.
what's their goals? What's their ideal of parenting? How do they want to parent? What are their roles in your life? Like young people are not prepared to have those discussions because they don't even know about it, right? And
Right.
unless they brought it to the elders, the mentors. This is why I really admire like arranged marriages. I'm not a proponent of arranged marriages, but I'm saying like love marriages. You go out and find somebody that you love, but you bring them back to the community, the family, the
Right.
grandparents, the
I
mentors,
get it.
and be like, hey, you know,
Mm-hmm.
are you did you ask them this question?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't even know. I didn't know. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
right. And because that's growth, right? Like we're trying
Mm-hmm.
to set you up to win. Culturally, we don't do that, right? When I
Right.
see people get married very young, I'm just like they're just trying to get the first divorce out of the way, right?
Right.
And it's really
Right.
that's what's happening. You know, the younger
Mm-hmm.
people are the they're unaware of their own emotions. They don't know what relationships supposed to be like. They don't know the opposite sex or the same. Like they just don't know, right? And
Right.
we're champion like, oh, that's y'all look so good together. That's all you have for them. That's all that you can say. Like they're
Yeah.
about to embark on something that they're about to like go over some mountains and some turbulent terrain, and all you can say, oh, y'all look good together.
Right.
I think that's setting them up for failure, right? Like if you really
So
wanted them
true.
to, if you really want to assist them and want to give them longevity, then you have to be real with them. You know, I have a saying a lot of times, people, oh, you're mean, but am I lying? Right?
No.
I never want to be like with my daughters in particular. I never want them to like, oh, he's lying. You can say I'm mean, but that's your perception, your interpretation. And
Right.
sometimes people, like I've had other people say it, but it's a tool of deflection as well to like, you get what I'm saying, right?
You
Let's focus,
totally
not lying to you. Don't
right.
deflect from the point that I'm making, right?
Right.
Let's discuss that because I'm giving it to you out of love. I want
Right.
you to be successful. Now you can use it or not, and this is the best I have at this moment, and I'm gonna give you the best that I have at this moment. Doesn't mean I'm always right, but I'm gonna give you the best that I have at this moment.
Yes. Yes. And you know, I think that when two people come together and I think this may or may not be rare. I don't know. This is not a statistically sound comment I'm about to make.
Okay.
But I just think about when you if you're fortunate enough to have two people who both value growing together, then it can work.
Mm-hmm.
If you have two people who are seekers of knowledge and okay with being accountable and they don't have to do everything hand in hand,
Yes.
maybe you have a therapist, you have a therapist, whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
if you have people, you know, and I want to say, and I want to be very careful about the way this comment is perceived,
Okay.
but I see women going down that path so much more than men.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just saying what I see. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying that's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's why I wanted you on this show too, is because having men, especially African American man,
Mm-hmm.
in this arena is so critical
Oh,
because I have so many young black boys in my classroom that I would love to be able to send in your direction,
yeah.
even
Yeah.
if it was just on a Saturday to kick it and talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have that at home.
Yes. I'm,
Um, go
I,
ahead.
I get it. I'm down to do that. When I was teaching high school, I started a boys group because
Okay.
there was one of the counselors started a group for young ladies. So I was like,
Yeah.
well, let's do one for boys, and then we would bring them together and we would have open conversation. I
Yeah.
think that's a very good point that you brought up. And yes, women enter counseling much higher at a higher rate than guys,
Mhm.
because men we're and I speak to a lot of men, and we have these powwows and circles. Like men, we've been shaped not to go to counsel. Like
Right.
we always have to be the protector, right? And
Right.
so we can't say that like how am I supposed to protect you, and there's something wrong with me,
Right.
right? And so and then just man up. That's what we tell young
Mhm.
men, is just like man up, as if men are not human beings with emotions, right? They need affection,
Exactly.
they need guidance, they need love, right? But we harden men, right? From and men do it to other men too, right? And a lot of
Mhm.
times it's culture, right? Women put it upon men and men put it upon men. And this is what, man, just man up. And as I say, man, there's a lot of guys that are in prison right now doing life bids because they didn't know how to deal with their emotions. And the
Absolutely.
emotions came out at the wrong time, and they did something that they given up their life for now, right? Just
Absolutely.
because they were never taught and giving the permission to say, hey, I'm not feeling good. Like I'm emotional, like I'm hurting, I'm in pain, I'm in need of love. Like all of those things we're not able to do culturally. And so I'm trying to turn it around
Mm.
myself and other programs and other
Yes.
platforms like this. Like we're really want men know it's okay. Like talking about changing behavior and one of the big things I'm on now is trying to get men to be cognitive of their decisions, like when they deal with stress. As
Yeah.
men, we were talking about, like, man, my old lady tripping, my job tripping, I'm gonna go ahead
Mhm.
and I'm gonna give me a six pack on the way, or I'm gonna go to the bar, or I'm gonna go do this. And it's like, hold on, man, you can't take one problem and multiply it by three. Now you're gonna hurt yourself, hurt your body, or you're gonna try to kill yourself because you're dealing with distress. But that's just bad behavior because that's what they seen their fathers do. That's what they seen their grandfathers do. And this is where I talk about we need a cultural shift
Right.
in terms of how we project gender roles and
Mhm.
how we project relationships. Like we really have to look at it from a standpoint of like, man, this is not serving us now, right? Like
Right.
we want to take things even from the 50s and 60s and say this is how relationships and dating supposed to happen. It's like that served then. That was what, 60 some years ago, right?
Right.
Different
Right.
time now. And I mean, look at what we're doing. You're on the other side of the city and I'm here and we're together and we're able to the projectors, like things have changed. Like we have
Right.
to evolve. We can't keep using the same ideas and wondering why they're not working now. That was good in the 50s and 60s. And the
Right.
relationship dynamics was totally different. Women couldn't be in the workforce. Women were subjugated to like misogynistic ideas more so within the home.
Right.
You had to do so. We can't take that and bring it now. I
Right.
often have a conversation where women, I just want a traditional man. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't.
No,
Because
you don't.
no, you don't. Because that ideal of traditionalism, that man come home at 6 o'clock, his meal better be hot and ready. It better be hot and ready. And if not, he may put his hands on you.
That's
And
right.
the authorities come, and then they're going to say, "Hey, that was a domestic situation." So
Right.
don't say you want that type of
No.
relationship. That's
No.
not what you want, right?
Yeah.
The opening the car doors, like all of those things are so small. Like we get so caught up. Well, men open car doors then because they didn't have automatic locks, right?
Right.
Like it wasn't. We made this a chivalrous thing to do, but it's not. Right, it was
Yeah.
practical then and that's why she had to reach over and open the door for him.
That's right.
Power locks, right?
That's
And we
right.
take this thing, we run with it, and as if really demonstrate something. It
So
doesn't.
true.
Like we gotta really, really like dive into this.
Yeah.
We have to have like a cultural conversation about what it's like. Now women aren't in there. They can have credit cards, they can have their own bank account, they can have their own life, they can get their own rent, they can buy their own home. You have your
Right.
own careers, right? So how is it
Yeah.
that you said you have all of this? We've made all this advancement as a culture. Now you saying you want to go back to that? No, you don't. No, you don't. But this is
Wow.
what we were talking about. We just buy into what we've heard without giving it any
Correct.
thought. This is what we heard older women say or older men say, and
Yeah.
we haven't really given it enough thought of how it's applicable in this time frame and
Right.
within our lives. We just following suit, and it's like it didn't work for them, and everyone was telling you that was the way to be. No, granddaddy had a whole nother family around the corner,
For
right?
real.
As they say, granddaddy came back from the war and had a kid that wasn't his, right? Like, so
Right.
we talk about all these things and we just we fluffify it, right?
Yes.
You
Yes.
don't understanding what was going on behind the scenes. One of them was abusive, one of them was, and it was a culture, right? And it supported that. Domestic violence was a supported.
Speak on it. That's
Yes,
right.
it was supported within the communities, right? Like, hey, what did she do?
Well,
Right?
and there's so many things, advances that people don't appreciate when, and what you're talking about right now is so true. When I was a teenager and went through my own abuse cycle with a stepfather,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't get in trouble because he didn't take it to a certain level.
Yes.
Now, you can be a registered offender
Yes.
for talking about or showing a magazine. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like I look back on that and I think about because the system was set up to support the patriarchy at
Yes.
that time.
Yes.
I cannot imagine how many young girls were, experience things that now the person would be under the jail.
Yes. Yes.
But
And that's advancement,
not
right?
in the 80s,
Yeah.
not in
No.
the 70s or the
Nope.
80s. Absolutely
Nope.
not. No.
Nope.
Oh, he didn't
Nope.
do this, this, and this. Well, okay.
Mhm.
Well, what about the 18 other things he did too that I'm going to be scarred for life? Like
Yes.
they didn't get that.
Nope. And it
And
was
that
culturally supported. We're
absolutely
gonna hi, uncle. He just can't come to the barbecue right now.
right,
Yes.
right,
Yes.
right. Because we don't want to disrupt the family. We
Yes.
don't want to do this. And I know that that's still happening,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
but it's gotten better. But to your point, if we don't strengthen ourselves as individuals, and if we don't have this growth and this awareness and be more accountable and take responsibility for our own lives,
Mm-hmm.
who's
Mm-hmm.
going to do it for us?
Mm-hmm.
And this
Ooh.
is why I love this business. This is why I love what you're doing, what I'm doing, and all the others who are deciding to step up and say, okay, I was shaped for such a time as this. And I'm going to devote my life to making sure that there's awareness,
Mhm.
because there's some people who will never seek it, but they just might catch it again on YouTube University,
Yes.
because, that's where we are. I just want to ask, how can someone begin to unlearn patterns that no longer serve them? Because we've talked about culture, religion,
Mhm.
society, expectations. We know that people have lost their inner authority. My girl, Positively Melanie, she's teaching me that whole framework about inner authority,
Mhm.
and how so many people don't have it because they're so busy living outside of and living according to what others expect of them,
Mhm.
right? But how can we work towards changing this? If there's anything you could say in
Yeah.
parting, that would help.
I would say shake fear, avoid
Okay.
fear, right? And embrace authenticity,
Okay.
right? And
Yes.
so a lot of times people are fearful, and it shows up in so many different ways. When I was just listening to you, we were just talking about the responsibility. A lot of times people don't want to take self accountability or be responsible, so they give it to someone else to do. And a lot of
Mhm.
times that someone else can be tradition. Well, this is what I'm supposed to do. Well, you're just trying to circumvent of going within to think about these things, right? And I'm saying there's a reward of a better situation for yourself, because what you're doing is not working. I had people,
Mhm.
well, this is the way I was raised, and my first thing is, so how's it working for you?
Right.
Well, it's not
Right.
okay. Then now let's come up with another template then, right? We have to figure
Right.
out something, but we have to first admit there's an issue and do some like self-reflection, right?
Yeah.
But be okay, like let fear go. As they said, was the acronym false evidence appearing real?
Being
Like
real.
shake that, right? And step into wanting to be accountable and to wanting to grow.
Yeah.
That is something that we have to do. I think that's the first step, is admitting that. Once you got to admit there's a problem, and then
Right.
two, shake the fear, because the fear is
Right.
not going to allow you to get where you need to be, because the fear, it makes you think that it's safe. Like, I'm
Absolutely.
safe where I'm at, right? This is safe. I don't
Absolutely.
have to take these steps. I know what is coming tomorrow, right? So you think,
Mhm. So
right?
we
But then when you look back, and it's like you're gonna find yourself keep evolving. If you're not evolving forward, you're evolving backwards, right?
right.
You
Right.
you you're
You're right.
regressing, right? You
You
always
digress.
have to
Yeah.
be moving forward at all times in our life, right? We have to, but
And like you said, making those mistakes, or going through things that you don't want to go through, is still education, information. It's still something that helps you move forward.
yes,
People don't make that connection either often, that they try to avoid the fear, is avoiding mistakes, but at the
yes,
same time,
that's how
how
you're
can
gonna
you
learn.
learn,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So God knows I've made many. I get
Yes,
it.
and you gotta let people take steps. This, like, I always go back to the kid. If you don't let the kid take the one of those two steps and tumble and fall, they would never
Right.
learn how to walk.
And
Right?
that's
They would never learn how to walk. And then guess what? Once they start walking, then they start running,
that's
right?
right.
Because they became more proficient at it. That's how life is, right? You have to stumble, right? I've had mine, right? And it's like, all right, but cool. Did it kill me though?
No.
It didn't kill me, right? And so
No.
that's what I tell my, but did you die? You didn't die? Okay, well then let's go back. Let's go do it again. Let's figure it out, right? Um,
Right.
and if you get it on the first try, cool, one.
But
But you can't be a quitter, right? You got to
right.
always want to evolve. You always have to want to change.
Right. Right.
Um, and
I agree.
we have to do this work too as individuals before we actually get into relationships, right? No matter where you are in your life, I tell people this, man, you really have to understand what you need, what you don't need, and be able to understand that, right? And reciprocity. A lot of times in relationships, it's all about me, what I need, right? But it has to be, you have to lead with empathy, right? And you have to be able to reciprocate, right?
Mhm.
Because if you reciprocate, I mean, every relationship has to have reciprocal dynamics, whether it's
Absolutely.
platonic relationship, familial. It has to have reciprocal dynamics. If
Absolutely.
I if you keep calling someone and third or fourth time they don't call you back, you're gonna fall off. The relationship is gonna end because there was
Exactly.
no reciprocity. And people somehow culturally we don't get that. Like a lot of times it blows me away that people just, well, I wanted this the way I feel. It's like, hold on, there's someone else involved in it, right? What are their
Right.
needs? Did you ask them
Right.
what their needs are? Are you
Right.
meeting their needs? And,
Hmm.
and we go into this thing, but it all goes back to accountability, control, or ego.
Oh, I love that, Ace. I love it.
Yeah.
I will remember that. So there's so much that you touched on. This hour came way too quickly.
Yes.
You will be back. Say yes, I will.
Yes. Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. I think I've thought about like eight different
Right. Right.
episodes.
Oh,
Yes.
for
Yes.
sure. And I
Yes.
will be there for every bit of it because this is some really good information that people need.
Mhm.
I know you can't in an hour share as much as you could because
Mhm.
I was thinking of some things that I wanted to go into, dive into, but we could have this conversation for 4 or 5 hours and still
Yes.
not be tired
Yes.
because it's what we're really interested in, and there's
Yes.
somebody out there who needs it.
Yes.
But I will say, first of all, even though we're ending, I don't want you to leave. Hang on.
Okay.
Um, I did put the information there, how you can be reached. You're on social media as the mental educator. Your email address is mentaleducator@gmail.com. Awesome. You have a phone number there. If people want to reach out to you, I feel like you're open to that.
Yes.
Questions, and please mention the show. But also, please like, share, subscribe wherever you're seeing this. If it's Facebook, if it's LinkedIn, YouTube, and we're even on Tumble.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of opportunity for people to see you for the first time if they haven't. I know that you're going to also be launching
Yes.
your channel, and I'm excited. And I'm hoping at some point that you and I can co-host. I'm just going to put that out in the universe right
I
now.
would love it. I would love
Yes,
it.
me
Let's do
too.
it.
I think that it's a natural fit. We're both educators. I definitely know that I agree with your message, and I think we have similar visions to help parents, to help families in general, and to just build better relationships. So I'm
Yeah.
so excited that you came on today. Again,
Yes.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
For all
Thank you.
our listeners, please reach out and support Shakir Muwwakkil. Make sure that you look at his whatever social media he has and you see this, and you will be seeing clips from this as well because this is just really good stuff.
Yes.
So
Thank you so
I
much.
hate to do this, but I have to end this episode. And but again, you will be back. You
Yes.
will be back.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, this is wonderful, but it could have gone longer for sure. So, anyway, just hang in. I'll be with you
Okay.
in just a moment. Thank
Okay.
you.